I am so excited for you guys to listen to today's podcast episode. So, on the podcast today, we have Sara Schreiber. She is a licensed therapist in New Jersey, and she really specializes in all things group therapy. So, she runs a lot of therapy groups in her own practice. She now has a group practice where she has a team of clinicians who also run therapy groups. She does coaching to help therapists launch therapy groups in their practice. And it's just basically going to be an entire masterclass for you in how to start and grow therapy groups in your practice. So if that is something you're interested in, you are going to love today's episode. Fun fact, Sara was actually one of the first therapists who went through Private Practice Academy back in 2021 when she was first opening her own private practice, and has had really, really tremendous success. So I'm so excited and proud for her. Really pumped to have her on the podcast today. That first year in private practice, she earned $255,000 and has continued to scale since then, with her own groups and hiring other clinicians. She makes up to $1,200 per hour running therapy groups, so they really can be quite a lucrative income stream. And it's something that she's also super passionate about because of the impact that it has on her clients and community and all of that. So I'm really excited, and let's dive in. Well, welcome, Sara. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today.
Yay, thanks for having me here.
Tell folks a little bit about who you are, what you do as a therapist, where they can find you.
Yeah, so I am Sara Schreiber. I am a therapist, first and foremost, but also I own a group private practice in New Jersey. And we specialize in group therapy in the practice. We also do a lot of individual therapy, but one of the main practice specialties is groups. We work with teens and also adults. And then in addition to that, I have a consulting business where I teach therapists how to start groups in their practices. And I have a whole course and other things related to that well, I'm sure we might get into a little bit here too.
Yes, I am so pumped. I feel like you are the expert in all things group. And so I'm really excited for today's episode. I feel like it's going to be almost like a whole masterclass for people on how to do therapy groups. But before we start, I did want to just sort of give people a little bit of background of how you built your practice, why you're so good at groups, all of that. I know that you were one of the first therapists actually to join the Private Practice Academy bundle the first time I launched in October 2021, which is so cool. To see how you've kind of grown from starting your practice then to having your own practice, teaching a whole guest module inside of PPA, starting your own course and coaching programs and all of that. So just give us a little bit of timeline and what that journey has looked like for you the past few years.
Okay. And by the way, it's been really cool watching your growth also because
Oh,
I've
you're
been
so
following
sweet.
you, I feel like from the beginning when you first started your Instagram. And so
Yeah.
it's so fun to watch your success too. And I'm always cheering you on. So my background, I worked as right after grad school, I got a job at a hospital, and it was a grant funded position, and I really loved it. And when I was pregnant with my second child, we found out we were losing funding. And
Mm-hmm.
I was freaking out because I was pregnant, and it was I needed to find a new job, and I was still working on my hours, my LCSW hours. And so I needed, a place that would give me supervision. I wanted benefits. I wanted maternity leave coverage. Like I
Yeah.
was planning on all of that. And luckily we found out, I found out I was pregnant, and we found out we were losing funding in the same month.
Oh,
So it
wow.
was, yeah. So I was newly pregnant.
Stressful,
I
but
also
lots of time.
Yeah, exactly. And they actually gave us 6 months notice. So I had 6 months to find a new job, but I didn't want to start looking when I was visibly pregnant. Also, it
Yeah.
was my second, so I felt like I was going to start looking pregnant sooner. So I got to work immediately interviewing at other jobs. And I got offered, I had a connection to this group practice that they were paying pretty well, and they were like, oh, and by the way, if you want to run groups, you can get paid per person in each group, and so you can actually make a lot more money doing groups if you want to do groups with us. And I was like, hell yeah, I want to do groups with you. That sounds great. I need money. And so I told them in my interview that I was really interested in running groups. And I got offered the job, but I got offered the job with the title group director. I was
Yeah.
like, excuse me, I've never run groups before. I don't know why you think I'm a group director. That's funny. But I accepted it because it felt like a good situation.
Yeah.
And they had told me I could be full time and all of that. So I arrive on my first day and I'm like, all right, like, where are all my clients? And because I didn't know anything about group practice or like private practice. And they were like, oh no, like we have to build up your caseload over time. And I was like, what?
Were
I need to
you
make money.
getting paid like hourly at this point, or was it a salaried
Yes.
position?
No, it was fee
Okay.
for service.
Yeah.
So they like in the interview, they're like, you can make six figures working here and you could be full time. And it was like all these stuff. And I'm like, great, that sounds amazing. But I didn't actually know. And I didn't know that I should even ask this, like, how long might it take? I thought this was like a big practice. I thought that they would just have clients for me right away.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a little misled. And then I start and I have like one client on my, coming up. And so I slowly start getting clients, but I'm also very aware that I'm 5 months at this point, 5 months pregnant. And I'm like, I am going to be going out on maternity leave soon. Like, what am I going to do? So I ended up, so then of course I'm like, well, I'm also the group director. So I start doing all these trainings in group therapy to like learn about what I'm doing, and I decide, well, let me start. Like I was working with teens. I was a child and adolescent therapist. Like that was
Mm-hmm.
the job I was coming from as well. And I was like, let me run some groups for teens. Like, what are the groups what are the needs within like our clients in the practice? And I was seeing like social anxiety was a big one, social skills was a big one. So I decided to start two different groups: a social skills group and a social anxiety group, and one of them was for children and one of them was for teens. And I ended up having enough people that I could start two teen groups. So I was like, but I had no clients. So
Yeah.
essentially, I had no individual clients. And so I went to work learning everything I could about marketing uh, groups. And I really I would like drop off my 2-year-old at the nanny share and then drop off my husband at the train and then come back home and got to work. I remember like sitting, it was like 9 a.m. I
Yeah.
had maybe one client later that day, and I treated that whole day like an office day, and I would
Yeah.
just get to work. And because I was really anxious about not making money, and I was also anxious about like starting and then needing to stop, so I wanted to start as soon as possible before my
Mm-hmm.
maternity leave. So I went, I learned so much from trial and error, from just thinking about what do I think I should do. I did a lot of like reverse engineering other people's, like what I saw from other people, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, let me try to figure out what they're doing. I spoke to anyone who I knew personally in my life who like worked adjacent to marketing. I would like have calls with them and learn, for like ask them. Like my cousin gave me all sorts of stuff like about it. So I just learned in that way initially. And I got 14 clients for that first round of groups. So I had like
That's
three
pretty
groups.
incredible.
It was insane, yeah. And then I started them, and they were time limited groups. And so the plan was that when I had my baby, it would be like they would end right when I had my
Yeah.
baby. So I started working there November, and I ended in I started working there November. My first group launched in January, and then I ended in April, which is when my baby was born. And
Yeah.
so I planned it that way. And when I was on maternity leave, side note, this like COVID happened also that March. It was
Mm-hmm.
that time. So my groups also went from in person to virtual during that time. One of them, which was a child group, like we just ended because I couldn't do a virtual social skills group for like 8-year-olds. Um,
Yeah.
so that one ended, but my teen one like continued. But I was able to also have the confidence of like, wait, I could do virtual. They're all doing fine in this virtual space for teens.
Yeah.
So then when I was on leave, I basically like took the time off to market, plan all the stuff, some new groups for when I came back from my leave.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back, I launched the new groups. And those I was running for like once I was back from maternity leave through having my third child in my own private practice, I was running about 4 groups a week
Yeah.
and generating an extra minimum, like an extra like $90,000 a year,
Amazing.
on top of my private like caseload.
Yeah.
So at the group practice total, I was making $100,000 a year. Like I was like that promise that they had told me like actually did come true, but it was like thanks to a lot of my own efforts and building up this
Yeah.
whole program. And then in my own, I was able to make like very quickly over 250. And I think a big part of it was because of my group work.
Yeah. Over 250,000 a year.
A
Yeah.
year for in my first year.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that for you so much. So tell me a little bit about like what sort of inspired you to go from I have this 6-figure job at someone else's group practice to I want to take the leap and start my own and sort of do something like very similar, but not giving them the cut anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I think the answer is kind of like what in how you just asked it, like why,
Yeah.
like why I'm doing all this work. I also took a position there. I was offered the intake director job at that practice when I returned from maternity leave, so I was supervising the whole intake team.
Hmm.
And I took that because I wanted to learn how to like run a private practice. And so I always had that as a goal. Like I'm going to go out on my own. And so I was strategic about the roles I took within that company in order to learn as much as I could and then go out. And another reason why I took it was because I wanted access to any intakes that came in to get them for my own caseload because I was fee for service.
Yeah.
And I figured it would be a really easy, quick way to fill up after being on maternity leave.
Hmm.
Um, Having access to all these new referrals. So
It's cool too because I feel like sometimes when people work at group practices, it has like either that same impact, which was definitely my experience too. I was like, okay, now I understand like the forms, I understand how telehealth works, I understand this process, I understand where to get clients. Like, might as well do it on my own. And I feel like therapists either have that experience or they're like very separated from the business side, especially in insurance-based practices where like they're not having to do any of their own marketing; they're just like getting
yeah,
handed clients. And I think that makes it really challenging sometimes to like have the courage to go out on your own because so much of
yes,
it is still a question mark. Um,
hundred
but you
percent.
were really thrown into like I have to do the marketing anyways, which is the hard part, and so might as
Yes.
well.
Okay, so I always say this to people, like the fact that I was in a private pay practice and then I was in the administrative side of things, like dealing with learning about out of network benefits and like helping
Hmm.
people get reimbursed and all of that through at like sending them super bills. I literally I've never taken insurance. And my job that I
Yeah,
had before at the hospital, it was grant funded. So my clients saw me for free. They had free
yeah,
therapy for me. I didn't need to do insurance, anything. So I've literally never in my life taken insurance, and I'm very happy about that because it sucks.
yeah.
And like just like not even the pay, just the all the
The
logistical
process around
pieces.
it.
Like when I was
Yeah,
an intern, I was at like a clinic, like a school that had like whatever. That was insurance, but I was an intern and it was Medicaid, and I had to submit a lot of annoying paperwork. But I because I was at this group practice that was private pay, I saw how to get referrals and I got referrals myself and I built up really strong word of mouth like network of people.
yeah,
Like I was collaborating very closely, and these are people I'm still very closely collaborating with to this day, psychiatrists, other therapists. I developed really strong friendships and relationships with them, and that was where with me, not with the
yeah,
group practice, right? So when I left, I let them know, like, FYI, I'm going out on my own. And they just kept referring people to me where they didn't
yeah,
care where I was. So I think that in general, like for anyone listening, wherever you are, if you're in a group practice, if you're in an agency, like start developing and keeping in touch with those relationships now because they're going to want to work with you because it's you, not because of where you're at.
yeah,
So that was, I think, probably my best, like the best way for me to transition out was that I was already so it was Sarah, it wasn't the practice in terms of
yeah.
like the relationships that I had with people and even the other staff there. Like I'm still very close with a lot of the people that worked there because we got so close, and continue to refer to each other currently in our private practices.
Very cool.
Yeah. Oh, but then also just the piece about and I think that if I was working at a group practice that was insured, that took insurance, and that I was really removed from it, and I didn't really know, and I was just getting lots of clients, and then going out on my own, I most likely would have gone and worked with like Alma or Headway or something where I'm like
Yeah,
getting insurance with them, because I wouldn't have known how to do it differently.
yeah. Like how to get credentialed on your own and like deal with all
No, I
that.
mean even how to do it private pay. Like I wouldn't have
Oh
known
yeah,
how to do that. But
yeah.
because I was working somewhere where I learned it, that's how I
Or
knew.
you were thrown into the fire.
Like I had no choice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
truly.
exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about groups. So when you are starting a new group in your own private practice, tell me a little bit about like what that structure looks like in terms of what you're charging clients, what you're getting paid, how many group members you're looking for, even like topics, start close, like how
Okay.
are we sort of structuring the group, and then we'll kind of talk
Yeah.
about marketing.
Yeah, sure. So, and this is like the question that you're asking me, or who I'm talking to, are people who are like in solo practice. Is that kind of
Yes.
like who I'm okay? Because I know, because also as a group practice owner, we have a lot of groups, and we that's a kind of a whole different animal because it's marketing lots of groups. So I want to make sure I'm tailoring
Yeah,
it
we
to
can do a
people
little bit of that at the end too, of
like,
like,
yeah, I mean, and but when you're in solo practice and you're starting a group, so I always recommend like go start with one group, like see how
yeah.
that one group goes. And so the first thing that one might need to do is figure out actually like what group do you want to start.
Hmm.
There's a lot of you might have a lot of ideas, and that's awesome, but you also need to be realistic about like what kind of clients could you get into your group. And
Yeah.
so I always think it's great to start with your actual caseload, thinking about like, is there anyone on my caseload who might need a group? Um, or do I have two people on my caseload who maybe could benefit from meeting each other and being in a
Yeah.
group with each other? So that's always a really good way to get started. And then you actually already have a couple people and you just need to
Hmm.
add. So that would be like my number one recommendation, or like the first step is thinking about who do I know who needs a group? Who do I already work with who needs a group? And in the like business marketing kind of world, there's like it's known that it's a lot easier to get recurrent clients than
Yeah.
like new clients. And so if you already have like someone who already trusts you, like I know I've had a lot of my individual clients will only want to be in a group with me because they trust me. They don't want to be referred to a different group. So thinking about that too, and I get this question all the time, like, isn't it unethical to have your clients in your group? Blah, blah. Like, no, it's not unethical. I'm not sure why people think that. It truly
I,
isn't. And I think people are worried about being salesy.
I think it's that and like the dual relationship, but it's therapy. And so it's not a dual
It's
relationship. You're still
There's
their
no dual
therapist.
relationship. Yeah,
Right. And
exactly.
so I think where it gets tricky is when therapists are like, oh, I want to make like a course for my therapy clients, or I want to do a group coaching program. Like, yes, that definitely
Right.
is not kosher. But
Right.
offering a therapy group to your therapy clients is like
Exactly.
very clinically appropriate and
Ex-
beneficial for them.
it's literally another it's part of therapy. So like I
Yeah.
also do some family therapy, and so I do it in the context of seeing individual clients. So like if I have a teenager that I'm working with and then I also meet with them and their parents together, or just their parents, it's not a dual relationship. That's part of the therapy. So also if
Exactly.
they're in a group, it's part of their therapy, and it actually is even more beneficial when you're working with someone one on one. And let's say they're really struggling with their interpersonal relationships, and you're like, I don't really understand why. Like you and I have such a good rapport. Like I'm kind of confused about like what you're
Mm-hmm.
telling me about. And then you put them in a group, and you're like, oh, okay, now I see. It helps the individual work because then you could go back and be like, hey, this is what I'm seeing in the group.
Yeah.
And I've had clients tell me how helpful it was that I was working with them one on one because they could see like both sides of them, and that we can actually it helped their individual work progress a lot faster being in a group.
I think what's so cool is I don't know if you've seen these reels lately, but I feel like they've been popping up all over my Instagram the past few weeks of therapists being like, I wish I could introduce my 11 o'clock to my 3 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah.
And groups are a way that you actually can do that. Yes, they
I
have to
commented.
consent.
I know I saw one of them and I commented on it, and I was like, I literally have done this. Like I have
Yeah.
started groups for this reason.
Yeah.
So 100%, I totally have. And it's really good. So that's my first step is like my first tip, I guess, is think about who's on your caseload. If you don't have anyone on your caseload who you think would be a good fit for a group,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's kind of like hard. That might be like just think about it a little harder maybe because you probably do. But if you
Yeah.
don't, then think about like who are you, what's your niche, what are you known for, and start a group within your niche. And not only that, but start a group within like a sub niche of your niche. So if you want to really be known as an expert in something, then starting a group in that thing will actually like even further legitimize you. So
Yeah.
like as someone who runs a college group, and my college group is also like it's like a young adult neurodivergent group, like neurodivergent young adults. I If someone's looking for a referral for a college student, let's say, I will say like, I by the way, like, hey, I specialize in college students, would love to work with them, and also I even run a group for
Yeah.
college students. And like let's say it's like the person in the thing says that this college student has ADHD. I'm like, I run a neurodivergent college student group. Like literally can't get like a better referral than that. So even if they don't
Yeah.
want to join my group, they see how much of an expert I am in that thing, and then they can work with me, or they just want to join my group, whatever it is. It really like further legitimizes you as the expert in your niche when you have a group for that topic. So thinking about it from that perspective around like what kind of group should I run, that would be kind of like the angle that I always tell people to do.
I love that. And I love that it's so specific and clear too. Like we're not being I don't know, like too cute with it of like, I work with like overwhelmed college students who have trouble with procrastinating and whatever. It's like, this is neurodivergent college students. Like we're very, very clear of who fits into this. And yes, of
Mm-hmm.
course, your messaging might have, some of those other aspects, but the title is clear, who it's for is clear. It's like,
Yeah.
your expertise is clear. I love that. And it's really coming from what's needed in the community and in your caseload
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah, 100%. And that group started originally because I had some people on my caseload who were really needing a group, and
Mm-hmm.
I was able to like get it started and then add it over time. And now I don't think I see any of them individually.
Yeah.
They've, it's like people come, people go, etc. It's an ongoing group. We could talk, if we have time, we could talk about like different group structures, or we could talk about it right now in terms of the next step is thinking
Yeah.
about like what structure you might want to have your group in. And so a lot of people who are not super familiar with group work often think about groups as like a 6 to 12 week group about this topic, and then you need to create all this curriculum for it, and those are great and serve a great purpose. I call those psychoeducational groups
Yeah.
or skills based groups. And so, and when I got started, I was running those were the types of groups I was running. They were like social skills groups or CBT groups for social anxiety. And I was basically teaching skills. I was using a curriculum that I had sort of like tailored from a bunch of other stuff. I created my own curriculum also because it was COVID, so I had to create all these like virtual
Yeah, activities and
like
stuff.
yeah, I had to make it all virtual. But that was like those groups were every 12 weeks, and then I would start a new round. So I was running 12 week groups at a time, 4 times a week, and then it would end and I would have this like huge decrease in my
Mm-hmm.
income for like a month while I was like finalizing and then start up the next round of all the groups. And that became kind of unsustainable, just from like a burnout point of view, also because a lot of the group members wanted to keep going and I was like
Yeah.
ending the group because I said it was going to only be 12 weeks, and then they would like sign up for another 12 weeks, or some of my groups it was like a joke, like it was all the same people for the whole year, and every 12 weeks it was are we all signing up again?
Yeah.
Like of course. So after I saw that that was happening and the impact it was having both on my income and also on my like just how exhausting it is to keep
Yeah.
marketing groups. um Kind of the thing I said before about like retaining clients versus getting new ones, I just started having all of my groups be an ongoing groups with a minimum time commitment of joining. So when new
Okay.
people join a group, they have to join for 12 weeks, and then like they can leave after 12. Like the minimum commitment is 12 weeks
Yeah.
essentially for the majority of our groups.
Very cool. And
And
when
we
you're
have
looking, go ahead.
I was just going to say we have a payment policy where you're paying some, we say similar to signing up for a class. Um, you're committing to paying for every session, whether or not you attend.
Yeah.
So in the summer, we are a little more lax. We ask for them to let us know ahead of time, like when they're not going to be there. And we don't charge them for that. But during the year, we do. We charge every session. And if it's kind of like, are you in or are you out? Like if you're not interested, like we're
Yeah.
not going to hold a spot for you.
And do you do that for like that initial 12-week period? And then after that, is it just like they get charged weekly whether they're there or not? Are they like recommitting to another 12 weeks? What does that sort of look like?
No, so they're there for, it's like a minimum of 12 weeks that they are agreeing to. So basically, if they're there for 3 weeks and they're like, I don't know if I'm really feeling this. I'm so anxious. It's so hard to talk. And like, that's why they joined, let's say.
Yeah.
Then, the point is to help the client feel like you can't just leave. Like you need to, you're here to put in the work, and like, we're going to support you with that.
Yeah.
Um, if a client, and so basically we're going to support you with that, and therefore you're going to finish up
Yeah.
the 12 weeks, and let's like keep talking about it and seeing how you're doing, and like by the 12-week mark, like are you still feeling like you want to leave?
Yeah.
And most likely not. If it's the right fit, most likely they do want to stay. They've um however, for members where it's like they join and it's a few weeks in and you're like, and we have like a whole screening process, which if you want, I could go into a little bit, but um, we try to make sure that like when someone joins a group, we do know that they're a good fit for it.
Yep.
Every so often, we're wrong and they come and we're like, oh man, they're actually really not the right fit for this
Yep.
group, and they can feel it and we can feel it. Then we don't like enforce the 12-week
Yep.
rule. We're like, yeah, it's probably better for everybody if like maybe we find you a better group that's a better fit for you. That
Gotcha.
doesn't happen super often, but that is something that we don't like make people stay in the group, even if it's an awful fit
Yep.
for everyone involved.
Fair enough. So how much are you typically charging for groups?
Okay, so I'm gonna start with a disclaimer.
Yeah.
My practice is in I'm in the New York, New Jersey area,
Yeah.
New York City, Bergen County, New Jersey, which is in like right next to New York City. So we're in a high cost of living area, and so we charge accordingly. And so our teen groups, we charge between 150 to 175 a
Mm-hmm.
session, and then our adult groups are like $100 a session,
Yeah.
give or take. And
And
so.
what do you recommend? I know that you do a lot of like coaching with other therapists too, like
Mhm.
maybe broader across the country. Where do you sort
Yeah.
of suggest that people range those
Yeah.
prices for
So
groups?
I always say that people should look at their private pay rate and then like split it in half.
Okay.
It should feel comfortable. Like the fee should feel comfortable for you. Like you feel okay telling people about it.
Mm-hmm.
But you also don't feel like you're underselling your value.
Yep.
Um, and something I was thinking about recently is like, again, this is like I feel like I've been learning a lot recently just about business coach, like business and sales and stuff, like because of selling my course. So I've been
Yep.
like learning all this stuff that I didn't know before, and something clicked, and I was learning about high ticket sales.
Mm-hmm.
And the person that I was like, I listened to some podcast or whatever, and they were like, high ticket sales are so easy because you don't need that many in order
Yep.
to like make a good income. And I was like, oh, that's kind of like my groups. Like, I don't need 10 people, 10 group members. If I have 3 group members at 150, that's $450 in
Yep.
that hour. Whereas, maybe my individual rate is 300 an hour, but like some people might be, 200 or 250. So let's say
Yep.
they're still charging 150, like you're making 450 for that hour. That's still significantly more than you would have been
Yep.
making. Or even if someone's on a sliding scale, let's say you have, and we could talk about also with pricing, like we do offer sliding scale and we do offer lower fee. So I actually, my one of the first groups I ever ran, I was like, how do I had 2 people signed up at like a regular rate, like
Mm-hmm.
150, or probably more because it was at the group practice. They were charging a little more actually for the groups, but 2 people signed up, and then I was like, I need one more person to get this started. It was a young adult group, a social skills group for young adults. And I was thinking the 2 people I had met for this group, I thought they're really good for each other. And then I remembered this patient I'd worked with at the hospital. And I
Yep.
was like, they would be so good. But they were like, I knew they would definitely not be able to afford anything.
Yep.
And I reached out to a colleague at the hospital and I was like, hey, can you reach out to this patient for me and ask? And it was someone I had worked with one on one. And I was like, can you tell them that I'm starting a group at the private practice I had moved to, and see if they would want to join it for free? And they were interested, and I had them join for free. And that group, let's just say that both of the people were paying 150, that
Yep.
group still generated $300 an hour
Yep.
versus, like, let's say I was charging $50 per person, then that situation would have given me $100, which is like less than what one could be making in that time if
Yep.
it wasn't a group. So you need to think about it in that way, is what I'm trying to say, is like think about how much would you like to make for the group? What's realistic for you? And you don't need a million people. You just need like the good right amount of people, and 3 people groups, depending on the situation, can be really really powerful. I run amazing 3 people groups. Um and then you can add them over time. Again, with
Yep.
my model of it being ongoing, you can add people in over time. So that 3-person group that made, let's say, $300 an hour, I then, during those 12 weeks, I was building up a wait list for the next round already. And the
Yep.
next round, the 3 people stayed. So then the next round, I had 3 new people and I had 6 people. So that got,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that math is, because I can't do math, but like it was a lot more.
Yep.
150 times 5. um, plus zero, right? For that
Yeah.
one that was free. And so it also just gives you flexibility to like add in people strategically, offer lower rates for certain people if you want to, but really keep it, feel like you're really, the work that you're doing is really, you're being compensated well for it, because group work
Yeah.
can be really exhausting. It requires a lot of supervision and a lot of training. And at the end of the day, people are not, you want to be able to feel good about paying for supervision and paying for trainings. And if you're
Hmm.
not charging enough and you're like losing money, like you can see, you can, if you're at the end of the day making more in an individual session than a group session, then you shouldn't be doing it, because you're going to burn yourself out and you're going to be investing more money into like the extra support you need in running the group. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. So it sounds like 3 people is sort of like the minimum for you to get a group off the ground. Where do you sort of like max out your group and say, we're full, like I'm not taking anybody
Hmm.
else here?
Yeah. Between 8 to 10.
Cool. And so your sort of like income from groups ranges from maybe like 300 to what's like the max per hour there that you've kind of been bringing in from groups?
1,200.
Okay, very cool. So let's talk a little bit about marketing, because I love that you reached out to this guy from the hospital. I feel like that's such like a creative strategy to say, I'm going to go ahead and fill this group if it's like the last thing I do here. But where do you sort of start when you are thinking about filling a group? So we talked about like talking to people on your own caseload. Where do you go kind of like outside of that in terms of finding people who might be interested or have a need for this in their community?
Yeah, for sure. So talking to people on your caseload's number one. And then from there, I really like to think strategically. So I always say, like, think about your group members as people at a dinner party. And I know I just said
Mm-hmm.
I like to say that. I like to say it after hearing someone else say that. So I'll give her credit. At like one of the first trainings I ever went to, I was like, that is so smart.
Yeah.
And think about, if you're having a dinner, you're having people over for dinner, and you're thinking about, who do I want at this table? Who would be like a good grouping of people. Um, Once I know the first couple people who are going to be in my group, then I go to, okay, well, who else? Who would be like a good, maybe different but similar personality? And I like having
Mm-hmm.
buddies. So I like having people who have like an overlapping thing in common, whatever that thing might be. And so often I ask about, like in our screenings, I'll ask about what their hobbies are. I ask about what they like to do for fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes just like a cultural background is a thing in common. So it's always nice to know like certain stuff that people have in common going in, because that'll help people feel more connected in general to the group and be able to start actually doing the work, and when they know that they're like not super super different from each person there. So
Yeah.
when I think about that, then I'll think about, well, who do I know that might be have access to like that kind of client? And so, and then I had said earlier in this episode about the relationships that I have. So
Mm-hmm.
that's sort of my go-to next thing, is I reach out to all of the close colleagues that I'm really like good friends with, and is if they have a similar niche to me, which most of them do, just because we work a lot together. And I'll
Yeah.
let them know, like, hey, I've got this group starting. I always also will have like a flyer that I've created and a landing page to my website that the
Mm-hmm.
flyer directs them to. So I'll share that information with them too, and I'll just let them know, like, I've got this group in case you know anyone, if you have any clients who would be a good fit for it. um and so that's like the first line of defense, is like talking to people who are actually like friends with me, and they know me and they can attest to my work.
Before we kind of move on to the next thing there, I'm curious if you have any advice for folks who maybe don't have like a robust professional network in private practice. Like, how did you go about meeting other therapists? Like, how did you sort of form those
Hmm.
relationships? Go from like a one-time coffee to I actually really know this person.
Yes.
Any tips you can share there?
Absolutely. Yeah. I actually, in my course, I like redid the marketing section, where I went through like all these general marketing things that like lay the foundation for
Mm-hmm.
then like actually doing the things that I do to get clients into group. And it can take a long time.
Yeah.
If you're starting from scratch, if you don't have these relationships, you do need to have some time to build up trusting relationships. And I'll talk about some of the other ways that are less into like other ways of marketing where you don't need to have a relationship with the people, because I do have a bunch of those. But for the relationship building, I always recommend having networking calls,
Yeah.
like finding other therapists on listservs, on Facebook groups, local therapist meetups,
Yeah.
and having like actually putting yourself out there, inviting other therapists to get together and talk, and to not have the networking call for the purpose of like, tell me about your practice, now let me tell you about my practice, but rather like, let's like let's be friends. I mean, you
Yeah.
shouldn't, not like, hey, let's be friends, but like if you hit it off with them, you may not even talk at all about your practice, but you really connected on like a deep personal level, and then
Mm-hmm.
you can continue that relationship basically, and you're not even talking about your work so much, but you now have this like therapist friend and you happen to know what they specialize in and send people to them. And then
Yeah.
another thing also is like, be generous with referral. So if you see that someone's looking for a referral for something that like someone else like specializes in,
Yeah.
like sending it their way, or like if you're on a listserv and someone's posting about it, or if a friend reaches out to you and is like, hey, I'm looking for a therapist for myself, like think about your people who you actually know and trust and you would want to
Mm-hmm.
refer to, and refer to them. Like, be thoughtful, go the extra mile, because all of that comes back to you, and it just creates more goodwill and more like interest in them than referring to you like on the other side of it.
Yeah, I think that making that warm handoff for people is like so valuable in creating like a reciprocal relationship. And I love Instagram for networking too, as a way to like
Yes.
meet people, to see like, you know, their coffee, their dog, etc. It's not just so work focused, will you send me clients all the time, which I think
Yeah,
is super fun.
I totally forgot to mention Instagram, but yes, that is a great way to meet people. And I like, it's funny, I did all of this before I even had Instagram. Like,
Yeah.
so I didn't even, it wasn't my primary way of doing it, but now I've seen like building up my business Instagram. I'm like, wow, like I've been able to sell my course through Instagram and start groups for therapists just through Instagram. So it's
Yeah.
so powerful. And meeting people in that way and being able, like, I met with someone, and she was like, she like commented on something about my story that I had posted,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh my god, I like forgot that like someone could have seen that,
Yeah.
and it was like another therapist who was joining one of my programs, and I was like, oh haha, like she asked me like a follow-up question like about
Yeah.
my kids based on what I posted. But that's how you really like develop these real, like, people trust you. She trusted me enough
Totally.
to sign up for something of mine, right? Like, you can uh build trust in that way, where like the actual nitty gritty of like, what modality do you use for therapy, like, is less important than
Yeah.
like, do we connect, are we easy to get in touch with each other. So like, I like, I have certain psychiatrists I work with who like, we communicate over text message, like, hey, can you have a quick call, and like, we do great work with our patients, like our shared patients, because we're always able to be in touch really quickly, and I don't need to go through
Yeah.
like an email to the front desk to like pass along the message that I want to get in touch with them. So
Very cool.
so that's, I would say, like my best tip
Yeah.
for getting in touch with people like that. Yeah.
So we've got existing caseload, existing professional network. Where else do you go when you need group members?
Yeah, so listservs and Facebook groups are
Okay.
huge. And so listservs are things that like you either know about or you don't know about them, and when you learn about them, your mind is like blown. So do you know about listservs?
Vaguely from you. I've never really used listservs to
Okay.
like get clients, I will say.
Okay. So this is like the literally one of the best marketing tips for in places that have listserv. Like, in places that have, some places really are not listserv heavy at all. New York and New Jersey have huge listservs. I feel like Florida, maybe there aren't that many.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not in the New York or New Jersey ones
Yeah,
either. So
I'm in actually a couple Florida listservs
yeah.
because I'm licensed in Florida, but there aren't that many. So New York, New Jersey, there's a bunch of other ones, Massachusetts, Connecticut. There's a lot of listservs that do exist out there, and actually in my course, I have a whole module teaching people how to find listservs in the state or
Yeah.
demographic that they're licensed in. But and I have a freebie that you can link that is like a directory of a million listservs and also Facebook groups that people can
Awesome.
join. So we can put that somewhere in the
Yeah, we'll put
notes.
that in the show notes.
Yeah. So, but essentially, listservs it's an email list that you sign up for. That it's basically signing up for like a newsletter that anybody can email in. and it comes to your inbox. And so if you sign up for a lot of them, you're going to be flooded with constant emails, but it is an amazing way to get referrals. And some of the listservs are paid, like you can pay for the list. So
Mm-hmm.
and the fees aren't that high. So like, $60 a year or something. One of the ones I'm in is probably the most expensive one, is like $200 a year, but that one specifically is for private pay referrals,
Yeah.
and really high quality. Like it's like all like people that have been doing this for a long time and really seasoned and whatever. So it's worth the fee if you get one client in there. It's worth it.
Yeah.
So and that also, some of listservs also, often it's a good way to meet other therapists, just to network and connect, and
Mm-hmm.
like talk about networking events and stuff that are happening. So like I'm going to a networking event this Friday. Like it's a happy hour in the Bergen County like listserv. Someone posted it, and it's
Yeah.
like, great, cool. So but essentially people in listservs will post a lot of like, in search of therapist or in search of group for blah blah blah, this thing. So people are always looking for referrals for people and
Yeah.
posting about them in the listservs. And then the majority of the listservs let you advertise your services in there for free. So what I always do when we're marketing a group is that I will go into the listservs and I will like make sure I'm doing the ones that have like the rules that you're allowed to, and
Yeah.
basically send a little blurb of that we have a new group starting and this is the information, and I shared the flyer and I shared the landing page. And that
Mm-hmm.
has been a really great way to get it out there. And you can't just post it once, you have to post it like a few like a bunch of times
Yeah.
in order to actually be seen, but also like not too many times. My course members will know I say like, don't be annoying. Like
Yeah.
that's sort of like the in between. Like don't, like, if you feel like you're being annoying, like don't do it too much, but don't do it like once, because then nobody's gonna see it. It'll get lost.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really good way. Sometimes what I also do is like, I won't just post about group. I'll say something like, um, looking to connect with other therapists of teens, like teen therapists.
Yeah.
And then in there, I'll be like, hey, I'm a practice that works with teens. And like, I would love to learn about other practices that also see teens. By the way, we have a group for teens that's coming up. Here's the information. So
Yeah.
like, and I'll even share like my Calendly link. Like if you want to have a coffee, like a virtual coffee, like sign up here, so that we can just I can meet other people. And I do this like rarely because I usually don't have time. But like if I ever have a lot of open time, or I feel like we need some more like networking,
Yeah.
I'll do that. And so thinking about also your subject of the email to actually make it like clickable, that people actually want to open it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're like new group, a lot of people don't really want to be advertised to, but if it's like an interesting, enticing email, then they may want to open it.
I love that. Okay, so we will definitely link that resource for finding listservs. I feel like that's such an
Yes.
amazing freebie. And then Facebook groups, do you sort of treat
Facebook
that
groups.
the same way, or?
Same. And then the giant list of Facebook groups are also in that same directory.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing, but a little bit less formal because it's just a post. And so we post an image of the flyer, and then we also post the link to the website, and also just the landing page should also have like a contact form on it. So if someone's interested, they could just fill out a interest form right away, and they don't need to like find, how do I schedule a call or how do I do it? It's all right there.
Yeah.
So we put that onto a bunch of different Facebook groups. And so, yeah. And so that's Facebook groups for therapists in the state that you're licensed in, or where, the state that the group's going to be in. But
Yeah.
also thinking about demographic. So this, you need to be a little more careful, but demographic specific Facebook groups that are not for therapists.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, I'm a mom, and so I'm in the like my area, like Bergen County moms Facebook group. And I don't think you're allowed really to post, and it also looks a little like tacky to be like, hey, I got this service. But whenever someone's looking for a therapist or looking for a group in there, or even if they're like, my teen has social issues, I'm not really sure what to do, I might respond to be like, hey, my practice runs groups for teens with social issues, like here's some more information about it. So and I'll even go in, and so you could do this for anything though. Like let's say you want to run a group for chronic illness, you can join some chronic illness groups, or like it's possible that maybe you're already in them because you have lived experience with chronic illness and that's why
Yeah.
you want to run a group for it. So putting, kind of just like softly advertising yourself where you're commenting goes a really long way. We get tons of referrals like that because of that, because not only is it like in the moment you're talking to the person who was looking, you're also adding yourself to a searchable database where
Mm-hmm.
often people are not going to feel confident or like comfortable writing publicly, even though now you can have the anonymous feature. But like in the past, people wouldn't want to be like, help, like I'm really struggling, or like my child's really struggling, but
Yeah.
they're going to be like, okay, well, let me see if anyone here knows of any groups, and I'm going to use the search button to find it. So they'll search group therapy and they'll see that you commented on someone else's post 2 years ago. And I often do
Mm-hmm.
get people reaching out and they're like, yeah, I saw like a while ago, I don't know if this group even is still running. And so that is like a really helpful way of getting your groups out there too.
Very cool. How do you sort of like structure this time, I guess, or like what is like the time amount that goes
Mm-hmm.
into like, posting on the listservs, doing these networking
Mm-hmm.
calls with people, like kind of browsing the Facebook groups and seeing like, is there stuff I can respond to there? What does that sort of like look like for you on a typical day or week?
Yeah. So as when you're in solo practice, right, it's all you. So right, I have a team of like I have my intake team and like they take care of a lot of that stuff. So we'll
Yeah.
assign kind of like who's doing what when. And so when you're solo, I would say it's the same thing. And I was doing it solo for a long time until like a year ago probably. And so what I would recommend is basically if you're launching a new group, I recommend having a 6 week kind of ramp up of
Yeah.
marketing and uh thinking about, okay, what are the things, like actually writing it out for yourself, what are the things I'm going to do, and saying when you're going to do them. I love using the notes app on my
Mm-hmm.
laptop for like tasks, and I use the little checkbox next to
Yeah.
it, and
It's
it's
so
like so,
satisfying.
I know, but it's also so basic. It's like I don't use any of these fancy task apps, like, and I have ADHD, like they're so enticing, but I'd rather just take the notes app and just be like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. And I literally I used to do this. I had a whole list of the listservs that I would be marketing to. And
Mm-hmm.
every time I was marketing a new group, I would go to that list and I would uncheck them all from the last time. And then I would, as I sent out each email, and I would schedule send them. So it would take like an hour and be like, this
Yeah.
hour I'm doing the listservs, sit down for that hour, schedule send them. And I would decide like what made sense from that perspective and check it off as I did it. And that
Yeah.
just lived there. So I knew which listers that were good and I would do it. And then the Facebook
Would
groups too,
you
same
schedule
thing.
send like, I don't know if four is the limit to not be annoying, like four emails to that listserv like at one time, or would you kind of go back like once a week and like do them again? Or
I think at the time I would just schedule send. I don't think I would do it like that. I
yeah,
think you can decide what you want to do. I like to also look at the data and see like what's happening. Like
yeah,
sometimes it's like I might send out an email and I got like tons of responses and I'm like, I actually don't need to market this again. Like I think
yeah,
I'm good. Or I got, or like there's crickets and then I'm like, maybe that was the wrong time of day or the wrong. So I don't like schedule sending things where it's like set it and forget it, because then
yeah,
like I don't want to forget it because I want to know, I want to be strategic.
yeah,
So I would recommend like basically when I say schedule send, what I mean is I have like 10 different listers I'm going to send to, let's say.
yeah,
I don't want to send them all at the same time.
right,
So I look at all of those and I say, over the course of these 2 weeks, I'm going to send two today, two on Wednesday, two on Friday, and next week also, like kind of spread it out. And that's my first wave.
you cut
You
out for a
there?
second, but you are back. So let's start off with like over the course of 2 weeks.
Okay, so yeah, I would schedule send them for like over the course of 2 weeks, and that would be my first wave um of like that email, the listserv marketing,
Yeah,
and then see how that goes, see what I get, what responses I get back, and then basically like do another round, and maybe not to all of the listservs, maybe to like the listservs that I know have more people,
yeah,
who like one of the ones I'm in has like 4,000 people. So there's no way all 4,000 of them saw my email the first time around, so
totally.
maybe sending it again to like the higher populated listservs and then not sending it to the ones that only have like 100 people because like they probably saw it and like if they were interested they would respond.
Yeah.
So it really depends. And then also something that I do is I always say in the body of the email, reach out, like let me know if you want to talk more about any clients you might think like would be a good fit for the group. Like we can talk, like
Hmm.
consult about it basically. And so therapists, it's that first call, it's that consult call, just with so this is with a therapist instead of with the client, but the therapist, the one, it's like they're the gatekeepers to the
Yeah.
clients doing groups. So they're the ones that like you need to kind of sell the group to first a lot of the time. And so it's always helpful to like talk with them more like, let me tell you, or I'll say to them, tell me about your client. Like why, you know, what do you think they need a group for? And then I'll tell them about my group and then we'll see if it's the right fit. And sometimes it's not. And we're like,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe it's not the right fit. But then they keep me in mind for other people.
And I think that's so important too, because like as therapists, we have such a high level of trust with our clients. Like I know if I were to go to any client on my caseload and be like, you need this specific group with this specific therapist that's going to help you with this specific thing starting in 4 weeks, like I recommend you sign up. They're going to sign up because
Yeah.
they trust me, they trust my recommendation there. And so I think that that's like such a helpful marketing tool versus like I don't want to say like Instagram's not helpful for groups, but it's definitely not the first place that I would recommend going, especially if you don't have like a huge, really warm audience already.
Yeah.
Instead, using Instagram to connect with therapists who have
Mm-hmm.
a really warm caseload of people who they can then send this group to, I
Yes.
think is like such a more effective marketing strategy.
100%. Yeah. I've even played around with like Instagram ads for groups and stuff and like I have gotten inquiries that way, but they've never really panned out to be real referrals that actually ended up following through. And a lot of it is because of our fee and because of stuff like that. And so I find also like for a private pay group, you need private pay therapists to be referring to
Yeah,
them unless you're going to be doing a sliding scale and whatever, but like yeah, I think that I agree. Instagram is not, it's not the best way. I think it is good for just like that recognition, like niche expert recognition, that
yeah,
is like a thing that's happening. And so I do recommend, like in my course, I do tell people if they have like a business Instagram that they should be posting about their group on there, but it
yeah.
shouldn't be the primary way that they are advertising it and marketing it.
For sure. Because what I really heard from you was like going to existing clients on your caseload as like number one marketing strategy. But other than that, everything else is like connecting through a professional, whether that's in your own network via a listserv or via a
Mm-hmm.
Facebook group. It's really how can we market to the people who are already seeing clients private pay, who like therapy, who need therapy, and then would be open to a group. Because I think it's pretty rare too that therapy seekers seek out a group before they seek out individual therapy as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is very true. However, we do actually get a lot of group members through Google searching. So
Mm.
also having strong SEO around your niche and around your,
Yeah,
and I don't know, do you do SEO and PPA?
a little bit. Yeah,
Okay, so I just added also a module in my course about like SEO kind of basics, um, so that people can learn more about like how do you kind of get optimized a little better, and that I found really helps too. And even like the Instagram, like when you're posting about the thing, like it boosts your SEO
yeah,
too. And so that's been actually a really effective way that we've gotten a lot of group referrals, is people just finding us on Google. But you
very
have to
cool.
be actually like writing blog posts every single week about your niche and about your group, and like making it really obvious that you have a group. Like I've
Yes,
seen I've audited some like people who have, joined my course, and I'm like, I've audited their websites and I'm like looking at them and I'm just like, I don't even know if you're running a group. Like, are you running a group? Did you decide not to do it in the end? Like, it's not really
yeah,
clear sometimes. And so you have to make it really obvious what you're doing by having it there on your website, and having it in like, using all the keywords and having blog posts and everything. So that's also like a huge strategy that takes some time to build up, but it should be
yeah,
definitely something, just like networking calls and like that takes some time to build up. Like all of these things are things you should be doing in order for this like longer term uh referral stream to happen
yeah.
for you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. You are such a wealth of knowledge. We are going to link your Instagram, website, and this freebie with all the listservs and Facebook groups in the show notes. But remind me again where folks can find you and how they can sort of stay connected, or if they're wanting more support with launching groups in their own practice, even tell us a little bit about the offers available to them there.
Yeah, absolutely. So they can find me on Instagram. I'm groups in private practice, and I think it's all like underscores between each
Yeah.
word. And then my website's groupsinprivatepractice.com, is my like business consulting website. You can also link my like my actual practice website if people are curious to
Yeah.
see that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, and I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks so much for having me.